Hi, this is The Point of View. It's your favorite current affairs show on Citi TV, and we bring you the right guests. We ask them relevant questions on issues that matter to you, and we come up with some useful insights. Well, today's show is going to be a post-mortem of a very interesting exercise that took place over the weekend. The NDC had parliamentary primaries in many constituencies, and we'll be talking to the Director of Elections about what happened. We'll look at the aftermath and some of the issues that have emerged. But it's an interactive show. Get in touch with us. If you are watching on Facebook, there's a long conversation going on underneath the stream. Please add your voice to it. We also have a hashtag point of view. There's also a WhatsApp number we'll put on the screen. Let's hear from you what you make of the issues surrounding the NDC's primaries. We'll be right back. Welcome back. So apart from the usual whinings that occur when primary is over, people said they were cheated, people said there was too much money involved. There have been very interesting things that have emerged since the Saturday primaries in over 150 constituencies. One of the big issues has been a claim by a government or a ruling party chairman in Ashanti region that they influenced the outcome of some of the results. We're going to take you quickly to summarize what happened on Saturday in some of the constituencies. And when we come back, we'll be speaking to our guest for tonight.
Though 578 aspirants filed to contest in Saturday's polls, only 524 of them were cleared. Whilst 39 constituencies went uncontested, 74 are outstanding for various reasons, including 5 which were put on hold pending the outcome of investigations by the party's special committees. The 5 are Asawase, Impoho, Yilokrobo, Fantiako North, and Elembele. But the minority may lose the expertise and experience of some of its key members going into the next elections and subsequently in the next parliament. Joseph Yelechire of Wa West in the Upper West region is one of such people. The former Procurement Task Force chairman under PNDC, regional minister, ambassador, Minister for Health, and subsequently Local Government and Rural Development Minister, has been in Parliament since December 2004, when the constituency was created. He is noted for his valuable contribution to legislation, but he lost his bid to a relatively new face to politics, Superintendent Peter Langchene Tubu. Superintendent Tubu resigned as Executive Secretary to the former IGP, David Asante Apietu, to contest Mr. Yelechire for the seat. Mr. Yelechire says he will still work in the interest of the people of Wa West.
I'm surprised, like any other president. I did my effective campaign, I did all I could. But the people of Wa West, through their delegates, said I should take the back seat. But first of all, I appreciate and thank the electorate of Wa West for consistently 4 times elected to be in Parliament. And I will continue to be grateful to them. The people have the right to make a decision. And when they make it, that is all about it. You see, the first thing is that a party must develop ways of determining who wins. And if the party position is that it is delegates, it is a position. It is correct.
Still in the Upper West region, Francis Bawana Dakra of Jirapa also lost his bid to a former district chief executive, Cletus Dapla. He returned to Parliament for a second term in 2016 after losing the 2012 bid to an independent candidate, Paul Dergoba. In the northern region, young and vociferous Kumbungu MP Ras Mubarak also lost to a lecturer with the University for Development Studies, Dr. Hamza Adam. Though Ras Mubarak says he accepts the verdicts of the delegates, he makes a rather serious allegation.
They have chosen people who can pay their way through over substance and integrity. I've seen levels of vote buying, in particularly the Kumbungu election. I had made a complaint to the ENI to look into the possibility of money laundering. 6
other incumbent MPs also lost their bids to return to Parliament. They include members for Chianga Paga in the Upper East region, Rudolph Amega Etego, Buem in the Volta region, Kwesi Esiama, Aziz Abdul Muniru of the Akan constituency in the Oti region, Matthias Kwame Into of Awin in the Western region, and Eric Ose Osu of Afram Plains South in the Eastern region. Another energetic and vociferous MP, Samuel George Nati of Ningo Prampram, however, escaped defeat narrowly. Against all odds, the first-term MP warded off his contender with just 7 votes, but he says he is not shaken by the results.
I want to use this opportunity to say a very big thank you to Almighty God. I want to say a very big thank you to my constituency executives. I want to say a very big thank you to all the branch executives. I want to say a very big thank you to my brother, Michael Tete Kwete. I want to say this is the first in a series of victories. I want to say a very big thank you to my parents who've stood by me through this, and to my lovely wife who's had to bear a lot because of this contest. But for me, this is just the beginning. I extend a hand of fellowship, and you've seen me exhibit it here, to my brother Michael. Together, the focus is to increase the margin of victory between myself and whoever the NPP will elect next month to 20,000 votes, a margin of 20,000 votes. The vision is to kick out the incompetent Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo government and bring John Dramani Mahama to the Flagstaff House on the 7th of January 2021.
The contest also introduced some new faces likely to lead the NDC into parliament. Former NDC Deputy General Secretary and subsequently National Organizer Kofi Adams got the party's nod to contest the Buem seat, while former Deputy Communications Minister Felix Kwachi Ofosu will be contesting the Abra Asebu Kwamankesi seat in the Central Region. Actor and entrepreneur John Dumelo will vie for the Ayawaso West Wuogon seat.
Ayawaso West NDC has spoken. We are coming for the seat. Of course, her participation in the election has deepened democracy, and I'm happy that I was given a challenge. Either than that, it wouldn't have been democracy, and so I thank her very much. And of course, we'll work together to make victory in Ayawaso West a success.
Second Deputy Speaker Alban Bagwin's constituency will be contested on the party's ticket by Anthony Menkara Suma. Former gender minister and activist Nana Oyelitha was disappointed by the delegates of Adentan as they chose Mohammed Adamu Ramadan over her. In her speech after the election, Madam Oyelitha said introspection is needed.
I feel strengthened. I didn't expect to lose. I'm reflecting on my loss, and I'll say that I thank God. I know together with Team Oye, we did our best. We covered all the tracks. We ran a very strong campaign. We engaged with the electorates. We engaged with the delegates. The delegates have spoken. Democracy has won. And I congratulate Honorable Ramadan. We will do an introspection and find out exactly what went wrong.
In Medina, the delegates elected human rights lawyer and activist Francis Xavier Sosu. He beat a former national youth organizer, Sidi Abubakari, to it.
I would want to thank all of you and the people of Medina, especially the delegates, for the confidence that they have reposed in me. And I also want to use the opportunity to thank my brother Citi and Phyla and Hajia Rukia for the clean contest that took place here today. I want to reach out to my brothers and my sister that we would come together with one united front so that in 2020 we can win back our seat and help increase the votes of John Dramani Mahama, His Excellency, in Medina, so we can boot the NPP out of office.
The NDC has described the election as successful despite some allegations of vote buying. Kumbungu MP Ras Mubarak accused his opponent of engaging in vote buying, as has Victoria Hamman. The former deputy minister who lost the Kintampo North contest says she lost embarrassingly because she refused to bribe delegates. The party has, however, asked the public to disregard the allegations of vote buying. Speaking to the issues, a Deputy General Secretary, Peter Boama Otukuno, said their checks indicate that such allegations are untrue.
In the case of Victoria Hamman, I had read Victoria Hamman.
I'd read a post on Facebook, but I doubt if that was what was in the post. I didn't see anything like that. But I've heard those comments as well, and I think they are rather unfortunate because you see, the work of a member of parliament or an aspirant or winning an election is completely complex. You will need to stay in touch with the people and build a base. I doubt, and I don't believe that money wins elections in the NDC. The ordinary NDC delegates vote on a very, very sophisticated pattern, and if you don't know them, you always get disappointed. You understand? Build a better relationship with them. Keep the relationship. Always be with them. Always be on their side, and they will always be for you. I think that it's unfortunate that they have made all those assertions. But with the rounds that I did and the reports that we got from all the teams that went around, there was absolutely nothing like vote buying.
A lot with Abuamo Tokuno ending that report by 6 to Don Olo. So my guest has had many interesting positions in his life. So in the late 90s, before I entered university, he was the SRC president of the University of Ghana. Then he became the parliamentary candidate for the NDC in a very interesting seat, one of the most controversial seats, Ayawaso West Wogon. He later became the aide to former President Mills. He became the Deputy General Secretary, Minister for various portfolios, including local government and sports. These days, he responds to the title Director of Elections of the NDC. His name is Elvis Afriyie Ankrah. Great to have you on the show. Good evening.
Good evening, my brother Bernard.
You've chopped posts in your life, pal.
It's work. It's all work.
Are you post guy? Always running
it's any work.
SRC, what?
Senior any work. The titles are just decorations. Just work.
But what does being Director of Elections mean? What's the meaning of that position?
So, Director of Elections means that you are to coordinate all activities concerning elections, both internally and the main elections. So we have a directorate, an election directorate made up of 11 members. We have 2 deputies, Daniel Amate and Margaret Chiravera, plus other members. Then there's an elections committee that does the daily technical work. And then in each region, there's an elections director and a deputy. And then they also have a directorate.
Who will report to you?
Yes. And then in each constituency, there's also a director of elections in each constituency who also has a team.
So you vet the candidates?
We do all the technical work.
Okay.
So we facilitate the process and ensure that we take direction from the national executives, the functional executives, because we are appointees. And then we do the technical work. Of course, we work together.
So internally, when there are disputes, somehow you deal with it?
It comes to us.
Okay.
It comes to us. We will process all and then pass it on to the relevant committees.
But you also deal with the EC externally. So it means for the national election,
for
you
the
are
national
the one
elections,
So IPAC meetings and stuff like
meetings, myself, the general secretary, and one other. So
did the EC play any role in Saturday's election?
They did. They constitutionally, they are mandated to supervise all internal elections. It's a constitutional mandate.
So you pay them to do this work?
You have to pay for cost.
Okay.
You pay them to, So that's why when my friend Boss Masari said that they will no longer supervise, I said he should go and read this constitution again because he's mandated. He hasn't got a choice.
So you wrote to him saying, please come and supervise our election.
Yeah,
even though you said he's talking some way, you still need him to organize your election.
It's his job. He has no option. You understand me? And it's been consistent. NDC, MPP, they have to supervise all the internal elections.
Did they do a good job?
Oh, they did a good job. Let's commend them.
Will they do a good job in 2020?
Well, they haven't done the job yet. How can I mark a script I haven't read?
Based on what you've seen on Saturday.
Then let's wait and see.
You work closely with them, so you're in a position to know.
You as an examiner, you mark students' scripts. Sometimes they do well, sometimes they don't do well. It depends on the context.
This is You've seen the organizing.
When it comes to the dynamics of internal elections are totally different from national elections. So you cannot compare the two.
I see.
Totally
different.
So
you can't say if you have confidence in them to organize a free and fair election for 2020.
I'll say that when they came, they started on the wrong note. Some of the things they did were out of place. Some of the utterances, I don't want to go back into that. But I think perhaps they've come to a certain realization that you need the stakeholders. And they started the stakeholder engagements, and we met them with our flag bearer. And the flag bearer advised that, look, a lot of water has passed under the bridge, so we should let bygones be bygones. And I think it's only fair. Any fair-minded person, if you have a disagreement or misunderstanding with somebody, and the person makes the efforts to, normalize things. It's only fair that you give the person that opportunity. But we will continue to remain vigilant, continue to watch them, and ensure that whatever they do is in the interest of the country and the interest of our party.
So as Director of Election, does your mandate include election strategy? As in how you face the election? Or this is more the technical work of organizing people? I just want to understand what your mandate is in relation to the way the NDC sees you.
In terms of the constitutional mandate, it's focused on organizing elections, providing training, capacity building, preparing polling agents, deploying them, and all that. But naturally, because of the various rules that are played, so I do other things as well in terms of helping the entire system to move forward.
Interesting. So how do you assess the Saturday election? It's had a lot of news items running through, and even today there's a lot more. Before we get into that, what is your own assessment?
No, I think that it was good. It was great. I think that you know me. I mean, we believers, we had an all night on Friday.
Hey.
Committed the whole process into the hands of God. So I like to thank God for giving us. It was very smooth. Everything went on very well, and it was teamwork.
Okay.
The immediate past chairman, the chairman. Was the Director of Elections.
Okay.
So he has a very thorough understanding of electoral issues. So constantly we were engaging. He was advising, monitoring. The General Secretary was very, very active. I mean, my office is directly opposite him. So I just walk to him, he walks to me. So it was teamwork. The entire executives, for example, when we're doing the vetting, every member of the executive was deployed to various regions to go and supervise the vetting. And when we meet, we all look at the issues, etc. So it was the entire executives, the regional executives, constituency executives, the election directorates across the country. Fortunately for us, we had a retreat in Tamale a couple of months ago. So it also helped. We were able to put ourselves in shape. And so it was a collective effort, and everybody did his part very well. So I'd like to thank everybody.
What do you make of the claims by some of the candidates that the process was fraught with too much money? Generally, there's been a few. Ras Mubarak is one, Victoria Hammer is another. There's been a couple more I can't remember. I think somebody also in Ablikuma somewhere said something. And then there's been a couple of other concerns, even with the what do you call it, the Shai Osudoku. And actually this guy, Samuel George, they've all raised certain misgivings about the process. Have they complained to you, or this is just something you've also heard in the media?
So far, we haven't received any specific complaints, you know, in terms of money and all those things. But I think the issue of money in politics is something that has to be looked at in a very broad context. My difficulty is that if you're not careful, the way the conversation is being packaged, subconsciously, it will make it appear as if the entire NDC contest was characterized by money. So in that discussion, if we don't put things in their proper perspective, we would end up misinforming the public. So there were over 540 contestants across the country. Now you've mentioned 4, maximum, even let's say 10. My math is not good, but somebody can work it out for us. So 540, 10 out of 540, how much is that in percentage terms? So you're looking at 98% success, 98% where there were absolutely no problems, nobody complained. So we cannot say that this election was fraught with money issues. That is not correct. That is not a correct assessment of what happened on Saturday. There were situations where people complained because they lost. First of all, they have not made any formal report to us. So, because as a party, we don't work based on rumors. We hear them, but it's only proper that a formal report be presented to the party with evidence where available. And then if there are going to be any investigations, the investigations will be carried on. But what I find curious and interesting is that all those contestants were in the race until they lost. They were confident that they were going to win.
So you think it's a question, but that doesn't vitiate the claims they make, right?
So whatever claims they have, they should bring it to the fore, because it's not sufficient to say somebody used money. Again, how do you determine the use of money? Because there are legitimate uses of money. in a lot of our constituencies, the distance from the constituency center and some of the remotest parts, sometimes it spans about 90 kilometers. If you ask people to come all that way, to come and meet you, you have to provide them with transportation, you have to give them food, water, and take care of them. That involves money. Moving around involves money. Our people like souvenirs. That involves money. So I think that we need to be very careful that...
Okay, so let's separate the cost of elections, which CED has spoken about, from what, for example, Ras Mubarak has said. He said he reported to the BNI that Mr. Hamza Tamko, I think the name is, the amount of money coming into his camp was irregular, and therefore he made a report to the BNI. This can be verified.
Exactly. So it was difficult for me to have this discussion when I don't know the amount of money, how much he claims it was. I have no idea.
No, I'm just saying that, but if a candidate like Ras Mubarak has reported to BNI that his opponent had so much money that he feels there was money laundering involved, should the party just not be concerned enough to investigate this?
You can only investigate based on facts. Okay? You don't investigate based on rumors and speculations. If he brought us a report, and I would have thought that if you report to the BNI, perhaps you should also give us a copy, okay? Or even write to us first, in the first instance. Be that as it may, if you bring us a report and you tell us this X, Y, Z, that will be a basis for examining. You understand me? My brother, we can't just, based on rumors and hearsay. Nobody knows the sources, the support base. You know, I've been a candidate before. I had one occasion where one of my biggest supporters was somebody who stopped me on the streets of East Legon. Stopped me. I don't know him from anywhere. He said, look, I like you. I'm going to support you. This is my contact. And he started doing T-shirts and stuff for me. What do you say about that? So we need to be very careful, you know, about having a discussion where if today he brings the issues to the fore and we are discussing them, then there will be a basis to do a proper analysis of the issues.
But what about the claim by Chairman Won to me, essentially now Chairman of MPP, he said to a couple of radio stations yesterday that they orchestrated Ras Mubarak's loss, and they actually made a claim that they pump money to people to give to delegates. He was very specific.
Am I in Citi TV studios?
Yes.
This is a very serious station. Eh?
Oh, yes. I'm sure I know that.
Discerning listeners, yes. Let's not bring in, you know, comedy.
You don't take him seriously?
No, I don't, please. With all due respect.
Even though he sort of corroborates what the candidate said?
It's ridiculous and preposterous. When we're going to do our regional elections, he said he was going to choose our chairman for us and all that. It's all.
So you won't even investigate it? That he's claiming that he's prepaid money to... And that they're even going to he said, investigate.
I'm saying that this is a serious station with discerning listeners, and I want us to focus our discussion on serious issues. And let's leave the comedy aside. If you invite me here for a comedy show, I'll wear jeans and come. You know I can do comedy, but please let's focus on serious matters.
Okay, on that comic note, to take a short break. You guys can tell us what you think of that. So my guest is the Director of Elections for the NDC. We'll talk about a few things. So we've looked at the NDC's performance from 2012 to 2016 in the parliamentary elections. We've established that parliamentary elections correlate to presidential elections. And the gap the NDC has in terms of parliamentary is about 63. How is the Director of Elections going to strategize to bridge that gap? Even the central region, their beloved central region, abandoned them to only 4. We'll discuss some of those. We also have your comments. If you're a delegate watching and you have a contrary view or a view to support your director, let me know. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is The Point of View. Our guest is Elvis Afriyie Ankrah. He says it's all posts. He's been a man who's occupied many positions for the NDC. He was an aide to President Mills many years ago. He was a Deputy General Secretary. He's now the Director of Elections. He also contested Ayawaso West Wogon. I need to take his comment on that before I move to other issues. On Monday, I had John Dumelo sitting in the seat you were sitting in, and he said to me he's going to win that seat. Did he call you before he ran? Because you lost that seat to George Isaac Amu. And it was quite a serious defeat. And for some reason, the NDC has never been able to win that seat, apart from Rebecca Adote. What's with that seat? And is John Dumelo the one to turn that for your party?
We are winning that seat.
10,000 deficit.
Oh, listen. Do you remember Ayawaso West Wogon? Ayawaso West Wogon, the by-election. In that by-election, because of the violence perpetrated by the MPP and their goons, we withdrew from that election at 10 a.m. We sent vehicles round to do announcements. So give or take, by 12 o'clock, all our agents were withdrawn. No NDC person went to vote. The turnout was 19%, the lowest in the history of by-elections in this country. In fact, the lowest in the electoral history of this country. It's never happened before. So this is supposed to be an MPP strong. Where were the MPP supporters? And what was the result?
So they all
so between that time and the end of, and mind you, we had withdrawn all our polling agents, and a lot of funny things happened at the various polling stations. And then between that time and close of polls, look at the results. That was a seat we were going to win. And the MPP, realizing that we were going to win the seat, became so desperate that they had to put all forms of decency aside, decide to unleash violence on innocent Ghanaians. As we are speaking now, 14 people have suffered various forms of injury. The commission report has not been published. The people who perpetrated those acts are still walking about freely. You had national security officials coming on air to boast that they gave the orders, and you had police personnel saying that they did not know about the operation. In a country that is being led by somebody...
That has been denied, though, because when Mr. Champong appeared before the committee, he denied saying he gave the order. And I attended upon that committee as well.
But that even makes it more bizarre. That people could wear SWAT uniforms, driving police vehicles, carrying armor cars under the command of an ASP, and the police hierarchy do not know anything about it. And the one who supposedly they are to be under his command says he did not give the order. So are we in a jungle? I mean, it's incredulous. For me, Ayawaso West Wogon drew the line for me. That all this talk about Nanado and he believes in human rights and rule of law is a sham.
But the space he has to release the white paper on the report is not over.
Oh, forget about that.
So if I mean, that's the procedure.
Listen.
I mean,
So he quickly institutes a process to pass a bill or a law. What precipitated the passage of that bill?
Vigilantism.
Is it not what happened at Ayawaso West?
I'm sure.
So is it not reasonable that we should have that report so that the recommendations of that report will feed into the bill? And then there was also an engagement to the Peace Council. So why didn't they wait for all those things if there was genuine goodwill? We're not stupid people. We're thinking.
So your confidence in the seat is because you thought even though there was a low turnout and you could have even padded the numbers, the result shows that they are not popular there.
At all. We are winning that seat. You wait. It will be one of the first results that will come.
Is it one of your strategies to bring celebrities? Was John Dumelo a deliberate strategy?
You know, John actually got in the fray actively. He's been a supporter and a sympathizer. But in 2012, when we set up the Volunteers for Mahama, you know, I set it up together with others. He was one of the people who volunteered and was distributing leaflets on the streets. That's how he got directly involved. So he's been involved. Do you understand me? So, but I'm saying that the dynamics in that constituency has shifted. And come 2020, you will see the results for yourself. And based on what...
So you come back here and tell us if you don't win or not.
We are going to win.
You win it.
Of course.
Just a quick one on the cost of election. So Citi did a report. 380,000 cedis is what they calculated to be the average cost of running for primaries. Some people think it's more. There's a view that it's because of the delegate system being restricted, that if you expand to all card-carrying members, the ability, the responsibility and the urge to bribe delegates will reduce. What are your thoughts?
Well, we tried it. You remember the previous primaries, we had an open system. That was also fraught with problems. But I think that based on what happened now, we'll probably do a review and see if we can revisit that system again and tighten it up. But I am more, you see, if we do not have a holistic discussion about financing of political parties, we'll be tackling it in bits. It's a very uncomfortable conversation to have. And I recall the last time I spoke about it, and if you know the kind of calls I got, you know, well, if you say these things, we won't sponsor you. But you see, That's the elephant in the room. But at the point we have to talk about it.
But at the lot of elections now, so it means that you are in a stronger position. If you recommend after this and you write a report after the primaries and say, based on your observations, you think universal party member suffrage.
And I want to go beyond primaries. You understand me? Dealing with the primaries is just one small part of the problem. I'm looking at the big picture, that you live in a country where, I mean, I come from rural areas, okay? I'm not an Accra boy, don't be deceived. You know, I had to started school in Dodi Papasi, spent holidays in Achiavi Glimmer and all that. Coming to Accra, you see people drinking brackish water with sheep and goats. So now it's happening. So every 4 years, if we come and spend those stupendous amounts of money, I mean, if you have a conscience, you begin to ask yourself, really? See, we went into this democracy without looking at that aspect. All those big democracies, when you talk, people say democracy is expensive. Yes, it's expensive, but in the US, they have the Chryslers, they have the Googles, they have the huge companies to support them. Where are industries and companies that can pump those millions, hundreds of millions of dollars into our elections? So that is one defect that we have to look at. And it's a conversation we should have. It's a national conversation.
So you're admitting that sometimes the money that goes into the elections then makes it difficult to deliver actually the good governance for the people.
But the money, where is the money coming from? The money is part of the GDP. Hello? The money doesn't come from another planet. It's all part of the GDP. So I don't want to start mentioning figures, but people will start collapsing. But
Xavier said he spent 300,000, and it's probably more. This is just Medina.
Okay, that's primaries.
Yes, and this is a seat that you don't even hold.
Okay, so that's primaries. But if you look at what everybody spends in
main
elections.
If you multiply it by the number of candidates,
I'm talking about even main elections, MPP, National, NDC, and all that. You can,
in the billion.
I want one of the civil society organizations to take that up and do it. You see, the danger is that when you begin to do this analysis, and then you have some jokers coming out and as it were, just down debasing the debate.
The argument.
You know, this is not about, it's about Ghana.
But you've been in power before. Some people say you people are only interested in this when you're in opposition. So when you're in government, you are not interested in party funding.
But that is the
benefit. Very important minister, local government. That's a very important minister.
But that is the importance of being in opposition. Opposition gives you opportunity to reflect. So when you are in government, you are running your manifesto.
Yeah, but opposition.
You are running. Opposition.
So are you promising that if NDC comes to power, funding of political parties is something you personally champion?
It should not be coming to power. I'm saying that it should be part of the debate. I'll be very happy.
In Ghana, laws can only be changed if the executive supports
Bernard,
it.
Listen to me. But when the people, when Ghanaians say that as part of 2020 elections, let's make funding, the issue of funding of political parties, one of the main issues on the agenda, it will be. And then we'll all think about it. Because for me, it's something that personally, but this is not my party position. I'm talking about personally. I mean, and this is not NDC good, MPP bad, or MPP good, MPP bad. This is a major problem. You look at the numbers and just ask yourself, all this money, if there's a way we could cut it into two, some way, somehow, or into 3 or 4, the money that will be available to do other things, it will amaze you. So that is a personal crusade that I have.
Let me present two data sets to you. So in 96, NDC had 133 seats in parliament. MPP had 60. Because 92, they didn't take part. You had all 189. In 2000, you had 92, they had 99. So they had 7 more. And that was Kufuor one. In 2004, you had 94, they had 128. So they consolidated because there were new constituencies as well. 2008, when Mills won, you had 114. They had 107. So it's similar. You had a 7-seat advantage, as they did in 2000. You had in 2008. In 2012, you consolidated 128, and they had 123. So that's basically, both of you did better. 2016, you reduced to 106, and they had 169. If the history of our elections is anything to go by, incumbents do better in their second term in parliamentary seats. Generally. The incumbents do better in their second term in parliamentary seats. You have a 63-seat deficit. So it seems as if your work is really cut out. So if we are to follow this trend, in 2020, MPP may extend their parliamentary hall, and then you will come back in 2024, based on what I've just read to you. What's your comment? The numbers are talking. I'm just...
I know the numbers spoke. In 2016, I was in my village and I was watching CNN, and I was watching the hosts like you quoting numbers. And when it turned, I looked at their faces, and they wish that the earth would open and swallow them. You see, elections are based on one strategy. Okay, so it depends on the strategy that you take into an election. It depends on the amount of work that you do based on that strategy. It depends on your vigilance. Very, very critical. In 2016, I use this analogy. We shut our door. We did not lock the door. And somebody came in and took our color TV away. The following morning, we said, our TV is missing. And they asked, what happened? The thief came into the room. How did the thief come into the room? Because you didn't shut your door. Do you understand me? This time around, we are shutting the door. We are putting padlock, burglar proof, CCTV camera, gun, cutlass, bow and arrow, Bible, Torah, Quran, and if possible, talisman.
How are you going to use all those weapons? You confuse
your viewers will understand what I'm saying. If you say you don't understand, they will understand.
By the time the thief comes, you don't know which one to use. So are you saying that part of the reason for the loss was lack of vigilance?
Of course.
But is that
That's a major part. Major. We need to admit.
Are you talking based on research?
We need to admit.
Because for every election, there's the national sentiment. There's also the process.
Exactly.
You need to admit that there was a shift of sentiment against your party.
Of course, and that sentiment has shifted heavily already. Heavily.
Have you done any scientific?
Let me tell you, even this primaries that we did, the reason why we're doing it in phases is because we did extensive research in all the 275 constituencies. And yesterday, when we were doing the review, it was amazing that you do the review and you see, okay, when we went here, they told us this candidate will win massively, even though we probably had some misgivings. And when you see the results, the person has won.
So could your parliamentary loss in 2016 also be that you had the wrong candidates in some of the places?
It's a combination of factors. One, post-primaries issues. That was one of the major problems, because the process that we used created a lot of difficulties. Some people felt that they even brought non-NDC people to come and register and vote. So the original NDC people felt, well, if you did not allow us to vote, then we are not going to vote. And that resulted in the serious apathy that we had. So this issue about universal suffrage within the parties is something that we have to look at. We need to tighten the systems and the mechanisms that we put in place to ensure that strangers, quote unquote, will not be able to penetrate. So that was part of the problem. But another issue was that, first of all, people felt that Nana Addo, he had a certain sympathy. That was his third time. And the promises were very enticing. One district, one factory, one village, one dam, one constituency, 1 million, everything, one. So, well, people thought, let's give him a chance. And
people say every election is a referendum on the incumbent, if the incumbent is sitting. So you can say it's Nana Addo's promises, but a lot of people say it was a verdict on President Mohammed's governance.
So those promises and all the things that they said then created the impression that, well, if they come, Ghana was going to be turned into an utopia.
Aren't you insulting our intelligence? Couldn't it be that people just weren't happy with your governance? I said, you admit that it's a referendum on the incumbent. So it's more protest. That's why your people stayed away, as you said.
So it's
not about just people being deceived.
Bernard,
we are smart enough to know if we are being...
But Bernard, I think it would be simplistic, for want of a better word, to say that it was only one factor I'm doing the analysis. It cannot be. There cannot be a leading.
There's always a causal factor. If you do any regression, there's always a causal factor.
There are many factors.
One factor is always leading.
I've talked about what? Lack of vigilance. That was a major factor.
But that's why I attach weight to factors.
So lack of vigilance, major factor, because if you get the votes and you don't secure it, that's a major issue. Okay. Then I've talked about, of course, incumbency, fatigue. We're overconfident.
Not bad governance.
We were overconfident. No, we cannot say that our governance was perfect. I mean, that would be ridiculous. There were issues. There were challenges, but we tried to explain it. We had virtually solved doomsday. But I'm saying that vis-a-vis what was going on and the promises, I mean, people felt that, well, then let's give them the chance. Let's give them the opportunity.
But you're also promising.
Today, look at the promises that the MPP made.
Okay.
They said, one of them said, any idiots, she actually used those words, I don't want to mention the name, can borrow and run a government. So we borrowed over 40 billion, and the results are there for everybody to see. It helps education, infrastructure, airports, roads, everything is there for everybody to see. MPP, so far, they've borrowed over 80 billion. When you ask them, anything, hospitals, free SHS, schools, roads, free SHS. How much is the free SHS? The last time they said they were going to give us our debt stock. So they've been talking about planting for food and jobs, and that there's food security all over the place. I was shocked to see that as part of our debts, we had actually gone to buy, we had borrowed, what, rice? Did you see that? Grains, have you seen that as part of our debt? From World Food Program, from the neighboring countries. So what happened to the planting for food and jobs?
We'll take another break. When I come back, I'll show you my next data set. That has to do with regional breakdown of parliamentary seats, because as you know, some regions really tend, and we'll pick your views on this. Let me read a few quick comments before we take the break. The NDC has really shown Ghanaians what we call maturity in elections. They comported themselves and really showed they understand democracy. This is from Emmanuel Kumaho in Koforidua. Good evening, Bernard. Great show. I think Honorable Ras Mubarak lost the election because he lost touch with the base from Nene Malon, Odumasi Krobo. Bernard, will Mr. Ankrah admit that the current mode of electing representatives for the party is easily influenced by money and opulence? The Cardi from Spintex. As Director of Elections for NDC, what does he make of the yet to be implemented mode of decentralization at the local government? You should answer that because of a former position. Walanyo from Bachona. Good evening, Bernard. Your program is gaining ground in many homes as it inspires patriotism. Thank you for sending this one. You didn't mention your name. Abdul Rahim in Tamale says, good evening, Bernard. The NDC should not waste any resource in doing any investigation. Those who lost are making those comments of vote buying are signs of big-time losers. And if they even won the primaries, the main election would have been a mess for the party. Thank you. We'll be back with more. This is The Point of View. Stay with us. Welcome back to The Point of View. Our guest is Director of Elections of the NDC, Elvis Afriyie Ankrah. He just oversaw elections in over 150 constituencies. There are a few more coming. There are some, he won't tell us the date, but we'll know very soon. Elvis, let's go through the regions quickly. Central region was amazing. You had 16 seats in 2012. Now you have only 4. MPP has 19. Greater Accra region, you had about 13. Now you have about 7. And these are coastal seats. And usually where Central and Greater Accra goes, the nation goes. Your work is cut out. First, what happened in those 2 regions? They'll show the numbers. What happened in those 2 regions?
So, the system which put in place just fell apart. Okay.
Oh.
In terms of organization, there were internal differences right from the regional elections, the chairmanship elections. There were underlying issues, but we thought that we had dealt with those issues, not knowing they were still lingering. So even though a lot of things were done, because the structure, party politics is all about organization. If the structures are not strong, it doesn't matter how much you do, the effort doesn't percolate to the ground. So that was a major challenge.
Because parliamentary elections are usually local issues.
Exactly.
Presidential and national. Couldn't it be the way you manage things like premix in the central region?
So those are all part of the challenges that we had. Even if you had challenges, the way that they are responded to and managed, will go to a large extent to determine how the issues will be solved.
Your secondee, the guy who won his secondee is a fisherman. He's called Panya. A lot of his supporters think he can win the seat for the first time. What do you think is going on there? Is it that the type of candidate you will use has to change if you have to make inroads into some of those constituencies?
It's part of it. I mean, some people were saying we should disqualify him, etc. We stood our ground strongly and said he's the man the people want, he's the man of the people, and expect a shocker from Secondary, I'm telling you.
That would be the first time you win since Bosom Twisam,
yes,
if you have to win it.
Yes, yes. That guy is solid. He's solid. He has a strong following. He knows how to organize. I mean, you should see the guys we sent there to monitor the election. They told us, hey, you guys were right. Those of us who were advocating that he should be disqualified, XYZ, we were amazed at the level of organization. He's captured, and it's not, you see, his victory, his organization is not just going to be in Secondary. We're going to ensure that we deploy him along the coast because he already has the network. And, you know, fishermen relate to fishermen. You know, those are some of the things. So I'm not going to go into the details of our strategy.
Is it that if people want a candidate who may not even be able to articulate himself in parliament, the party has no problem with that? Aren't you supposed to also present people who can, because parliament work is very important work, a lot of bills. If somebody is not literate in English, will that not be a problem?
Okay, so are you aware that in the Constitution, I haven't found where it is, but I'm told by people like Asidun Ketia, who are part of the Constituent Assembly, that they made provision for that in the Constitution. So in the standing orders, they can bring an interpreter to come and assist that person. The most important point about parliamentary representation, that's why it's called representation, a representative. It's the choice of the people. If the people feel that that gentleman has enough knowledge, wisdom, and experience and can be a voice for them in parliament, it doesn't matter whether he speaks Gushi or Dagbani or Avle or Ga.
What about doing the work of a parliamentarian in committees, reviewing documents?
Of course, the interpreter will do the work for him.
If you have a 150-page deal and he has to go through and make a decision on behalf of his constituents,
they'll summarize it for him. He's a very smart guy. He's a businessman, my brother.
I'm not referring to him. I'm just talking generally.
Yes, but he's the one we are using as a case study. Okay? They will summarize it for him and break it down. And perhaps his wisdom and practical sense, okay, will bring to bear some common sense that perhaps those...
What about the Bono region? Your deficit, your net loss in BA was 7. That's still serious. BA used to be...
our stronghold.
Yeah, what happened?
Challenges again, you know, internal problems here and there. Most of the issues were internal. Because you see, you have to be weak within before the external force can get you. You understand me? And once internally there were issues and they were not managed properly, it became easy for opponents to make...
Would it not be also some of the problems like cashew farmers were facing, because a lot of them felt their industry wasn't doing well? So apart from the things you mentioned, I mentioned fisheries at the coast. In BA, some of the people are farmers. There was the DKM issue as well. In your research or your review, were those not part of the reasons why? Because it's not a massive swing of 7.
It was part of it, but I'm saying that, you see, we've had, since 1992, there hasn't been any election where we haven't had one issue or the other in a region or a constituency. But it is the tenacity, the strength of the party on the ground, its ability to communicate effectively and engage the people, irrespective of the issues and challenges, and explain to them and hold them. That is what makes the difference. So you may have issues. We've had serious issues. 96 elections. I mean, you know, so many elections. I can tell you that there were serious challenges in specific regions and constituencies. But we had the capacity to mobilize and go in there, sometimes at the very last minute, sometimes the founder will fly in there. You know, there were so many strategies that were deployed, and we were able to turn things around.
Upper West,
some way,
you have a deficit. Upper West has always been an NDC stronghold. Even that MPP took 4 of your seats, or your traditional seats. Is there not a shift in the way NDC is perceived? Because don't forget that we have a younger demographic as well. Those who maybe supported your party because of Rawlings, some of the voters now may not even know him. Apart from all the internal things you're saying, is your party alive to technological change, urbanization, and some of the new things that are driving voters?
Oh, we are. And we are responding to them. And even if you look at the primaries that we had, you saw that there were a lot of young people, the use of a lot of social media, people are engaging more on social media. All these things are things that we are taking into account going forward. And so, you know, as we begin to deploy our strategies, somebody said, well, your campaign, we are not seeing it. I said, no, running a campaign is like building a story building, a 10-story building. When you start, nobody will see, nobody will understand. You have to spend a lot of time, concrete, iron rods, then something comes up, people look at it, well, foundation. By the time the superstructure comes out, the campaign itself, the flamboyant campaign that people talk about, campaign, where they see the rallies and all the fanfare and all those things, that is the painting. Do you understand me? You've done all the things that have to be done, policy issues. As we speak now, the flag bearer has said it, there's a policy team, looking at policies, the economy and all those things. Those things are done quietly behind the scenes. As you prepare, as you do your primaries and you put your committees in place, those things are done outside the public view. Then come the time, by the time we file the nominations and we get going, then people will see, oh, the structure is there, then we'll start painting. Then you now see...
So you say free SHS seems to be the main answer. Your candidate seems to be struggling with free SHS. Now he's saying he's not going to cancel it. Is he getting feedback on the ground?
But he's never said he's going to cancel it. He has never
But why is he now explaining that he's not going to cancel it? Is it that people have been telling him when he goes around that we fear you will cancel it?
No, it is because of the falsehood of our opponents.
Really? People didn't understand his position. Was he for it or was he against it?
So hold on. So, you see, the free SHS debate was actually in 2012, if you recall. 2012, they said they were going to do free SHS. Bam. When they come to power, free SHS. We said, you can't just get up one day and say you're going to do free SHS. You need infrastructure, you need systems in place, and therefore we are going to do it progressively. And so we came to power, and because we wanted to do it progressively, we started with the schools, the World Bank funded schools, the Government of Ghana funded schools. Some of those schools have been left to rot in the bush, whilst pupils do not have places to sleep. Okay? It's part of the crimes of the MPP. And so we started it progressively. MPP came, by their definition of free SHS, they should have started all the 3 years at once. But they did only the first year and then moved on to second year. Now they're going into third year. Is that not progressive?
So they are fulfilling your promise.
We laid the foundation, the very things, and then we all saw the challenges and difficulties that they had.
Are you getting feedback on the ground that is going to affect you? For which reason the former president has to come clean on it?
The feedback we are getting is that, first of all, parents are saying that you promised us free SHS. Now our children have to go to school for a few months, come and stay home for 3 months. We now have to take money, find teachers for them. They sit at home, they are eating, and all the associated social dangers. That is the feedback we are getting.
So when you come, what will you do?
And so we are saying that we will look at infrastructure so that there will be no double track, triple track, and all that. We will improve upon infrastructure and ensure.
Will the fact that the MPP has created new regions affect your electoral chances? Because it's a strong... Some of the places they created the regions, the people there have been clamoring for it. And he's achieved it in less than 3 years.
But it was
that should be impressive.
But it was in our manifesto as well.
But they've done it.
It was in our manifesto.
It was a manifesto, but they fulfilled it.
But they were in power.
So why didn't you fulfill it?
It was in our manifesto for 2016. Okay? So if it was something that was not in our manifesto, we had not taken it into account. We promised that when we won, we were going to do it. Now you won and you've done it.
Will it affect your chances?
No, it won't.
Won't the people reward him
after all,
in those regions for giving them what they've asked for? Are you worried about that?
No, we are not. Because why? It's not only about region. When you create the region and at the end of the day, the infrastructure in that region is deteriorating, they are not seeing any improvement in their lives.
But the president says when he travels, you say you've done infrastructure, I can't see any road.
Of course.
The roads are all still in a bad shape.
I know he's 70-something, and he wears glasses, right? We all wear glasses. But
don't personalize it.
But you said the president.
Yeah, because you.
Are you not the one who said the president said he can't see? So he passes by Ridge Hospital, he doesn't see.
No, he says the Cocoa Road.
When he traveled to
he says the road was so bad.
He doesn't see all across the country, the hospitals, the schools.
He says your unprecedented infrastructure. He doesn't see.
He doesn't see.
The road. Bypass are agitating for roads.
But you know that when naturally every human being, irrespective of your age, when you are traveling and you are tired, you sleep.
I don't think you want to go. Please ask him how practical will they be to put all sides, winners and losers, together. This is Macbash. The quality and caliber of candidates we elected over the weekend gives me hope that NDC will win the next election. This is from Nyiringu Nuhu. Former President Mahama wants Ghanaians to miss him, but the truth is we haven't missed him even for one day. The only thing we have missed info, the doomsaw, and the cancellation of training allowances. This is from teacher, Constitution, William. Please ask him to outline NDC's campaign message ahead of 2020 general elections and stop beating about the bush with the usual propaganda. So what's your message in 2020?
You see, this is business about our message. You see?
What's your message?
We've been in this business.
And this is the last question. So
listen, Bernard. We are in a competitive political environment.
Yes.
The MPP came to power based on their manifesto and their promises.
Yes.
The primary, hear me carefully, the primary responsibility of an opposition party is to check the government and keep the government on its toes. So we're going to hold the MPP to account on their promises. One district, one factory is not happening. One village, one dam is not, dam, dugout, whatever is not happening. One constituency, 1 million is not happening. All the promises that they made are not being fulfilled, planting for food and jobs now.
So your message is that MPP has failed?
Hold on. So as we do that, I've told you that we have policy teams in place reviewing our 2016 manifesto, looking at the present, projecting ahead 10, 15, 20 years ahead.
When the message is ready,
then we will now
so you are cooking it.
From a communications perspective.
No problem.
It is our prerogative to determine when we will bring our policies to the public.
Time and tide.
Yes, we have to be strategic.
Don't worry, I'll be here.
Yes,
and when we are ready, come and share it.
Of course, and I'll share it properly.
Thank you.
And people will know that they are doable and deliverable.
Elvis Afriyie Ankrah is the director of elections of the NDC.
But people shouldn't sleep when they travel. They should open their eyes and see, because some of the things, they are so visible that if you can't see them, then our problem is bigger than we thought.
Our money is finished.
Because Ridge Hospital
our money is finished.
is there for everybody to see.
Thank you very much. My name is Bernard Avle. I hope you've enjoyed it. We'll repeat this tomorrow. You can watch it again. My guest was Elvis Afriyie Ankrah. Have a good night. Bye-bye.